In this video, we're going to show you how to complete an I-864, an affidavit of support, that is needed as part of the package for an adjustment of status or any marriage petition or family support petition that you file with the UCIS or with the U.S. Embassy. The reason the I-864 is important is because as part of the whole green card process, we have to prove that the petitioner, the U.S. citizen, is able to meet the income requirements needed to sponsor a foreign national. And therefore, they ask that information by using the I-864 and all the things that needed, all the supporting documents that are required with that form. So in this video, we'll show you step by step how to complete this form, and hope you'll enjoy it. Let us know in the comments any questions or any suggestions. Stay tuned.
Where it says before 1A, it says I, comma, and you want to enter your name in there. So this petitioner is John Adam Doe, and so you want to put the information in there as it is on the petition that you filed for the person, the intending immigrant. If you are the petitioner, you're going to click I am the petitioner, because you filed the petition for the person that is immigrating to the U.S. If you are not the petitioner, then you're going to click one of these other boxes. So right now we're just talking about family-based petitions. So if you're the joint sponsor, then you want to click I am the only joint sponsor. Unless, for example, this is a family that we're immigrating and we need more than one joint sponsor, so you can put I am the first joint sponsor or I am the second joint sponsor. So your petitioner hopefully will help you with this if you are one of the first or two joint sponsors. So after you've completed that part, then you go to part 2. And in here, you're going to enter the information of the intending immigrant. So the person that you filed that petition for. And in this case, the person is John's wife, and her name is Jane. And you can type this in lowercase or in uppercase. I tend to do it in uppercase just because it's easier to read, but it doesn't have to be that way. So we've entered Jane's information in here. And it's going to ask for Jane's mailing address. You really should use the petitioner's mailing address. Use John Adam Doe's mailing address. If you're doing adjustment of status in the U.S., and it's probably the same as John's address anyway, but if you're filing this at the U.S. consulate and Jane is in Canada, not in the U.S., then you still want to enter John's address in here. So we're going to put send this in care of John Doe, and we're going to enter John Doe's address in here because Jane may not be in the United States. Well, she may be or may not be, but so if you start to enter periods or other things in here that the system doesn't want you to enter, it's not going to allow you to enter it. So just know that you can't put slashes and periods and commas. We love to use those, and it's the correct way to do it, but that's not what the system's going to allow you to do. So just skip it. And we're going to put down the city where she was born and in this, or where John lives. We'll just enter his whole address here. We'll scroll down and look for CA. And this isn't a real zip code, but it's there to prove a point. And the system is proving a point to me that I can't just type anything in here. So in other information, we're still working on the principal immigrant, the intending immigrant. So we're going to enter her country of citizenship, which happens to be Canada. And her birth date is in here. She does not have an A number yet. So sometimes you will get an alien registration number beforehand. For example, if Jane had been in the country as a student and she had gotten permission to work, authorization to work in the United States, they would have assigned an alien registration number to her, and it would be on her employment authorization document. But if she's never been in the United States, or she's never worked in the United States, and she's never had an application for anything, then she's not going to have an alien registration number. Some people who have been picked up by immigration, by ICE, and are going through removal proceedings might have an alien registration number. So you definitely want to put the alien registration number if you have one. When you're entering the phone number, don't enter any dashes or slashes. It will only take the phone number without any other information. So in part 3, we're looking at information about the immigrants you are wanting to sponsor. So John only wants to sponsor his wife, and she's the principal immigrant that's named in part 2. So we're going to click yes, he wants to sponsor her. You only click no here if you are a second joint sponsor, and the people that the family members that you are immigrating are not going to be coming in within the next 6 months. You click this number 2 if you're sponsoring other family members. So let me tell you when that would happen. If I filed a petition for my brother under category F4, my brother can come and his wife and children can come. So I would click on this, I would click yes, and I would list all of the family members in here. But if I filed an I-130 petition for my wife, and I also filed an I-130 petition for my son, I'm only going to click yes here, and I'm not going to enter my son here. My son is going to get his own I-864. So you need to know what type of a petition you filed and whether or not it allowed family members to follow through. So if I'm a parent and I filed for my son, who is an adult citizen and who is married, he's allowed to bring his wife and children. So yes, I would go ahead and click here on number 2, and I would list all the family members. But if I'm a U.S. citizen and I had to file a petition for each family member that I'm bringing, whether it's my child or a stepchild, then I need to file an individual I-864 for each one of them. So you want to pay attention to make sure that you provided what you need to provide for each intending immigrant. If it turns out that I did file a petition that allowed other family members to come along, then I don't have to fill out an individual I-864 for every family member, but I do have to provide a copy for each family member. So I'm going to do the main I-864 for the principal intending immigrant, and then I'm going to make copies of the I-864 that I completed for each family member that is coming along. So I don't have to do an individual one. So in this case, we only filed an I-130 petition for the wife, and so we're only completing it for the wife. So let's go back to, we don't have to complete the rest of this, so we can actually go back to go on to the next page, because you're not oh, I'm sorry. Let's not forget that in part 3, at the end of that, we have to put down how many intending immigrants are included in here. And this one, because we only filed an I-130 petition for Jane, we're only going to put one intending immigrant. It's only Jane. So now is the information for the sponsor. So you as a petitioner are the sponsor. You are not the joint sponsor, you are the sponsor. But if you were a joint sponsor, you would also still complete this because you still are a sponsor. So you're going to include all of the information in here that you are required to include. Many people don't put down their middle name, but remember that this is a legal contract, and you are required to put in complete information. So we're going to put all of John's information. By the way, if they find out that you lied on this form, or you misrepresented yourself on this form, there could be serious consequences. So every form that you complete for the US government, you want to make sure that you just add real, truthful information. So if you really didn't file your tax return and you're providing a fake tax return, it will come back to haunt you because it is considered against the law, and there are consequences for providing information that is not truthful. So if you were just doing this on Adobe, it would normally let you just type the first two letters or the abbreviation of your state. What we're using right now is just not allowing it, but normally it is allowed. So it's asking down here, is your current mailing address the same as your physical address? If you click yes, you're going to see up here on the next column that it's not highlighted in blue and that you can't type into it. You don't have to type in double information. So let's go to other information for the sponsor. We do need to put the country of domicile, and this is really important. You know, if you're filing for someone who is out of the country, they want to make sure that you are living in the United States or that you intend to live in the United States. So if you've been living outside of the country with your spouse or your parent, and now you're going to come into the country, you're going to have to prove that you that you are actually going to come back to the United States and live in the United States, and that this is going to be your country of domicile. So we're going to put in here United States of America, and you can also put USA. Let's just for the purpose of getting this done quicker, we'll just put USA, and then you want to put the sponsor's birth date. And John happens to have the same birth date as Jane, just a different year. He's a little bit older. And he was born in Anytown. So we're going to put John's social security number in here. We cannot leave that blank, so we have to put that in there whether we want to or not. And it's very important that it match your social security number on your tax return. John is a U.S. citizen, so we'll put that in there. So U.S. citizens do not have A numbers. If you're a lawful permanent resident, you have an A number and you want to enter the A number in there. You must enter it in there. The sponsor's USCIS online account number. Most people do not have an online account number, but sometimes when you file a petition, the USCIS will automatically assign you an online account number, and they will send you a notice that has that information. If they sent you a notice with that information, then you want to enter it in here. John does not happen to have that information, so we're not going to enter it in there. John happens to be in the military. He's in the U.S. Navy, so we're going to put down that he is in the U.S. Armed Forces. So we'll click on yes. Do not skip this part. If you skip this part, you forget to put yes or no, they're going to send it back to you, or they're going to send you a request for evidence, and you don't want them to do that. All right, we're on to part 5, and in part 5, we already have a number in here because we entered previously that we were only going to be sponsoring one person. Remember when we entered that one in there? So it automatically entered it in here. The thing about this application is it will automatically count things for you. So if if that intending immigrant is your spouse, do not enter it in here. It says if you are currently married, enter 1 for your spouse. You don't enter it if you've already entered it up here, because then you're gonna have to earn more money, and it's going to be 3 people instead of 1 person, and it's going to be incorrect. So if the intending immigrant is your spouse, please do not enter anything here. However, if you have children, then you do want to enter the children here. And let's say that John already has 1 child, and so we'll enter it there. And you'll see then when you click down here, once you put an extra child in there, it's going to increase your household size to 3. So that means your household size is 3, and according to poverty guidelines, you have to earn an extra $5,500 because now you have an extra person here. So He's also employed, and he's employed as in the military as a petty officer, first class. And if you don't think you can fit everything in there, you can abbreviate. And he's first class E6. It's not allowing me to put a number in there, so I will not put the E6. I'll just put petty officer first class. And then I'll just enter it. Oh, it didn't allow me to do a period, so we'll just put U.S. Navy. So we're going to go up here, and it's going to ask me for his current income. And if his current income is enough, 47,328. His spouse, Jane, happens to be in the U.S. with a TN visa. She's from Canada, and she has a TN visa. And if he wasn't earning enough money, I could add her in here. I could add her income in here. But because he does earn enough money for 3 people, there's no need to do that. And so we shouldn't, it just creates more work, and you don't really have to do it. If he wasn't earning enough money, then you would definitely want to make sure that you enter Jane's income in there as well. If you notice, I didn't type this in here. It automatically, when I put John's income into the system, it automatically gave me the total. If I would have entered Jane's income as well, then it would have given me the total of both John and Jane's income. And if I enter Jane's income, I would need to say that I would need to click one of these boxes. So if I enter Jane in here, and she's she is the intending immigrant, I would need to click on box number 22 because she's the intending immigrant. If I entered my son's information in here, or my parents' information in here because they live with me and I didn't earn enough money, then I would click this. It has to be someone who lives in the same residence as you that you can count on this, and you would have to complete a form I-864A. So you want to look at the instructions for further information on completing the I-864A. It is a form that you need to complete if you don't earn enough money. You have to add a family member who lives with you to be able to qualify. So now we're going to go down to federal income tax information. You do need to check this box. They want to know if you have filed taxes for the last 3 years. If you say no, that's okay as long as you filed for the most recent year. But you know, most people who have been working for some time will check the yes box. We have a lot of students that maybe this is their first year that they've had income, and they would check this box no. This box here is optional. It's if you want to provide your income tax returns for the last 3 years, you can do that, but it's optional. So if you're going to provide them, then you want to click on the box. If you're not going to provide them, you're only going to provide the most recent year, then just leave it blank. So for John, we're only going to provide the most recent year. We will still put in the information for the last 3 years, but we don't need to provide all his tax returns. So we'll enter for 2018, he filed, and in 2018, you're going to put down what was the adjusted gross income on his federal tax return. So remember, you're going to enter the amount from the tax return, the adjusted gross income. He happened to have filed his tax return with his wife Jane, and it included her income. So his adjusted gross income was $83,445. And you don't want to just put down John's income. You want to put down what was reported on the tax return. That's what it's asking you to enter. In 2017, he was alone, so he only entered his income. So we're going to go ahead and enter all of John's income for the last 3 years, just so they have this information. They can see that John is a steady worker, no problem. And if he had not filed the last 3 years, he's going to need to check this box that says, I was not required to file a federal income tax return for the last, and he is also going to need to explain why he wasn't required. So he'll have to add an explanation. He can say, I wasn't required because I didn't earn enough to have to file a tax return, and you should be aware that that the amounts are not that high. So some people think that if they only earned $10,000, they didn't have to file, but yes, indeed they did. So you want to look at the IRS website to see what the filing requirements are before you use that excuse. If you didn't work, you would say, I didn't file a tax return in 2017 or 16 because I wasn't employed or I was a full-time student, whatever the reason is that you didn't file. If you don't earn enough money, then you're going to use this section here, Part 7. And Part 7 is for people who maybe didn't make enough money, and so they were going to make up the difference with their assets. And the types of assets that you can use are real estate, stocks and bonds, any other type of asset that you have. You can also use the assets of family members that live with you. So if your parent lives with you and it's your parents' home that you're going to use as an asset because they own the entire home or they have a large amount of equity in the home, then you can complete this part of it for the family member that's going to be assisting you. Most people just use their income. Even if they are using joint sponsors, they just use their income. But there are many reasons why people would use this. Remember that you have to have evidence to prove that you have these assets. So if it's stocks and bonds, you're going to want the records that are sent to you by the brokerage company that you're working with. If it's real estate, you want to add the mortgage payments to show that, you know, what your balance is on your mortgage. You want to add an appraisal to show that the value that you have equity in the residence. You also have to add the tax records, anything to prove that this is your property and that you can use that. And this total here will automatically total on its own once you've entered the information in the other areas. So we're really getting to the end of this, and you'll see it has what your obligations are. You know, what's going to happen if I sign this affidavit of support? A lot of people ask this question and they want to know, what am I liable for? And so you want to read this. And if you need more information, you can go on to the USCIS website that will tell you about your obligations. And it will tell you it will give you more information. Some people will say, well, am I liable for them if they have bad credit? Do I have to pay their bills? No. Their credit is their credit, your credit is yours. It is only to support the person for their living expenses, not to pay all of the credit liability that they have accumulated. However, if they were to have a medical emergency and they had to use public funds in order to pay for that, for emergencies, it's not going to come back to you. But if they continue to use it after the emergency, that could come back to you, and you could be liable for that. So read the instructions and read your responsibilities so that you know what they are, your obligations. So we're getting to the end of this, and the end you need to put down if you understand English, and if you've been going through this form with me right now, then I'm assuming that you can read and speak English and you understand it. And if you were not able to understand it, or you completed this for someone else who doesn't speak the language, then you do need to enter this interpreter information. And then you want to enter, if you're the sponsor, you want to enter your information in this area. And so in this case, John was the sponsor, and so we'll enter his phone number. And his phone number, nobody has a landline anymore. Everybody has a cell phone for everything. So we'll just make sure that we use the same number. And we're going to enter John's email address. So now John is ready to sign this. So let's, oh, there we go. So he's going to sign on line 6A, and he's going to date this, and then he's done because he didn't use an interpreter. You cannot e-sign this. This has to be an original signature, and you do definitely want to put the date in there. Someone asked if this could be e-signed. It cannot be e-signed. It cannot be faxed. It cannot be scanned and emailed. It has to be the original signature. If you're going to be completing this form, by the way, I didn't mention this in the beginning, if you're going to complete this form by hand, you want to make sure that you print legibly. And some people do not print as well as they think they do. It has to be, the officer has to be able to read this. And it has to be printed in black ink. Not blue ink. It has to be in black ink. So make sure that you complete it, if you complete it by hand, that it's in black ink, and make sure that you sign this in black ink and that it is an original signature, okay? Try not to use a fine point pen because then they're not able to tell if it's the original signature or not, so try and use a thicker point pen.
Thanks for watching our I-864 step-by-step instructions. I really hope you enjoyed it and got all the benefits you need and the value that we always provide. But you have to remember, we're not providing legal advice here. While I'm an attorney, I'm not your attorney. We're doing this as a public service to our viewers, to our subscribers, and just want to give back information. So remember, forms change. Editions of form change as well. It is your responsibility to check that your forms have the correct edition, that you're using the right forms, and that you consult a professional if you don't know how to combine it with other forms. Once again, this is a disclaimer because I'm not your attorney, but we're doing this as a public service. Once again, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in our next video. I hope you enjoyed watching our I-864 step-by-step instructions. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment below your question or suggestions, subscribe to our channel, and click that bell on the top right of your screen to get notifications whenever a new video is coming your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.